Wow, we have a good one today. My guest is a former Pancrase champion, a former UFC heavyweight champion, was a commentator for Pride, did 400 some shows of Inside MMA, has starred in movies with Kevin James, and has a movie coming out with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It is none other than Bas Rutten, the man himself. I have been a fan of this guy for 30 years. I've followed his career, his fighting career, his commentary career, his business career, and then, of course, his film career. And he is just a ball of positive energy and someone who has overcome challenges in his life to achieve the world's top accolades, world champion, right? Starring in a movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Kevin James. Like, these are accomplishments that he did, and he's a completely self-made man, and he's just a heck of a nice guy. You're going to love this one. Bas is a Dutch-American actor, mixed martial artist, kickboxer, professional wrestler, commentator, and coach. He has appeared in television shows. He's appeared in movies, and we're talking like some serious movies. I mean, even video games. As a kickboxer, he fought 16 times, winning the first 14 matches by knockout, and 13 of those were in the first round. He was also crowned the UFC heavyweight champion and was also a 3-time King of Pancrase champion. But his journey is not about all those accomplishments in athletics. His journey was really about fulfilling his amazing potential, and his career is storied in a way that you can't even believe, because he did not have the easiest of roads. This is not a guy that was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and all of the gifts given to him. He has earned it, and you are going to hear a story of somebody overcoming adversity and achieving their dreams in many, many different vocations. So with that being said, Bas, welcome to the ThriveMore podcast.
Thank you very much, Roger.
Yeah, I can call you every morning and do that for you if you like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's get right into this. You literally are one of my heroes, because I grew up loving martial arts, watching mixed martial arts. You were one of the initial champions in that sport. But if we go back in time to when you were a child, you didn't have the easiest go of it. Can you share with me what it was like growing up? And you grew up with less than optimal health. So maybe speak to that.
Yeah. It all started when we moved from a big city. So when I was born, I came out completely covered in eczema, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
But that disappeared within a couple of days.
Okay.
And then when I was 6, we moved from a big city to a village.
Okay.
And that's when suddenly my eczema came back with a bang. And like my head's very prominent on my arms and my neck and ears and stuff like that. And that went together with asthma, having severe asthma. Now, it's one of those things, a lot of kids have this. A lot of adults have this, So if I would have bad asthma, my eczema would look good. My skin would look good. And if I had really bad skin disease, my asthma will be better. So it's like this balanced thing that you have.
Immunosuppressed, yeah.
Yeah. So needless to say, lots of medication. Don't remember a lot from my childhood. Lots of bullying. I was the leper in school, of course. So they always had it out on me. I spent a lot of time in the forest. We had a forest in the back of our home, and I could swing from top to top, treetop to treetop. There was maybe 6 places where I have to go down, but for the rest, it was a big forest. Wow. So that came in handy for bullies also. If they wanted to bully me, I just climbed a tree and waited for them to climb, and they started swinging to the other one, and they didn't have the goal to do it.
Sure.
That's how and one almost died. So when that happened, nobody ever followed me again.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's my athleticism came from that. That's what I believe, because I was constantly 3-4 hours a day swinging treetops. I was climbing high buildings or climbing high. Everything with height really always I was attracted to. Every church I climbed, every high building in my town, if there's a crane, the really show I'm in the crane in the very top, in the end, I always had to climb. So, and it was it. And then I was in France when I was 12, and I saw Bruce Lee movie Enter the Dragon. And then I realized, wait a minute, if I become like that guy, then I can take care of my bullies. So I asked my parents. It took me a while to convince them, but then finally the neighbor girl, she was very beautiful. She was dating the cool guy in town. Xavier was his name.
You remember? I love it.
Yeah. And he took me under his wing to the adult classes, Taekwondo. So my mom and dad finally said yes. She says, don't worry, I'll take care of him. He's with adults. I'll keep my eye on him. And then within months, I stopped beating the adults. So it started going really good. And I overheard these guys talking about me. in the dressing room, and as a kid, if you only hear negative stuff, but an adult start talking positive, that's when you get more confident. And that led into that week to the biggest bully in my school. Chucky was his name. And they surrounded me, shouted something to me on a bicycle again. Hey, leper. And this time I shouted something back and they started to chase me. So I put my bike on the stand and I said, this is it. I'm gonna face it this time. And then they
Wow.
surrounded me with the bikes. And then Chucky came and he wanted me to hit him. So I did. And then we found out that very week it was one punch and he was out. The problem was his nose was broke. So the police showed up, of course, because I had to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad, that confirmed it, that it was violence. I always say this in my defense for my mom and dad. They didn't know I was bullied.
Sure.
Because my mom had an enormous amount of work with me. Like she would mummify me every night, with creams on it. I would scratch it up in the middle of the night. It would itch so bad. She had to do it again. So for years, I mean, we had the whole family send in old bed sheets. She would rip up the bandages. And then so she could mummify me. That was the name that we had. So, because I'm pretty sure that my dad would have known that I was bullied, he would have said, no, we keep him on the martial arts. But that was it. For me, it was it because I have a really good memory. What I can see, I can do. I got a really good mind-body connection. And that was it. So now I started watching Bruce Lee movies. Now I went to the what do you call it? The store where you rent books.
Mhm.
Jesus.
Library. Yep.
Library.
Yeah.
Bibliotheek. That's what the Dutch word. So
Yeah,
weird.
bibliotheek,
25 years, I should know the word. Library. And then just the pictures, from pictures, I started learning. And I started training also illegally, but a friend of mine did boxing. So that I would slip into his boxing classes. And another kid was a boxing on a different school. I would slip in his boxing classes, but all for free.
Yep.
And then training at home. And that was it. And I made a list, I think 4 or 5 names only from my bullies that I still needed to have. And knocked those guys out. and then I was free.
Yeah.
I remember when going to the first school, when I had to redo my last year because I had to go to a really bad school. I had no memory. My memory was gone. And then but I was taking an insane amount of medication. And then one of the parents of a kid in my class told my mom, hey, listen, my son is taking this and this and this medication and he can't remember anything. So we stopped taking that and his memory came back and I hear that your son is taking it. Maybe you should watch out with that. So I had to redo my last class on the school when you're 12 years old.
Yep.
Because I was going to go to the worst school. That was like, I had nothing. And then they found out from the medication, I took the medication off. I redid a year and now I was going to be sent to the best school.
Wow.
Unless you get different. So I said, let's do the middle. Let's go to the MAVO. That's what they had at that time, something in the middle. And that's where I went. And then later on, I started cooking, culinary school, and then suddenly fighting came along.
So let's talk about that if we could. So you, because I wasn't sure, but I think you confirmed it. It was Taekwondo, which was your, because usually a mixed martial artist has one, of their main disciplines, if you will. And that seemed to be your main discipline to start with. But you quickly started learning these other styles. And for the audience listening, if they're not aware, mixed martial arts is something that's relatively new in the last 30 years because you would only compete or fight or train in your chosen discipline, Taekwondo or karate or jiu-jitsu, whatever. Now they're all blended. But you started blending it from a pretty early age. And if I remember like listening to you in an interview a long time ago, that you would go to the library and you would create drawings of different submissions and different things, and you would actually sketch these out. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I did that with it was called Shintai Karate. They had a few very basic arm bars, but looking back on it, I don't think that coach had particular submission skills because I would never do an arm bar like that anymore if I do it,
Yeah.
But it had for basic throws, some punching, kicking, and then basic throws and stuff into a submission. It was kind of, he was thinking ahead. Then I wanted to compete. The Taekwondo is only kicking pretty much. It's 90% kicking, 95%, especially at the Olympics. It's only kicking. And I wanted to hit people as well. So I just started Kyokushin karate on the side, which is a full contact karate. Bare knuckle, it's not to the face, but the rest, everything is legal. Knees to the face, kicks to the head, bare knuckle to the body, and then open hand, you cannot strike with your hand.
Yep.
And then I started, I wanted to compete. And okay, let's do Thai boxing. So I did this all at the same time. I kept every sport doing. And then I started competing in Thai boxing.
And how old were you when you started competing in Thai boxing?
I don't know, 22, I
Okay.
think, about that, 21,
Right.
22. Yeah. And I started just knocking everybody out. And it went really well. But I wasn't the fighter that I was at the gym. So for the people at home, everything is very easy from a nice, safe environment, right?
Yeah.
If you have to memorize a script, you can do it in the mirror and it's going to be 100%. It's perfect. Yeah. And now do the same thing in front of 1,500 people. Good luck. You know,
Yeah.
it's a lot of pressure that you got to have.
Sure.
And that's the same in fighting, of course.
Yeah.
So in fighting, I was so aggressive because I just wanted to get it over with. I
Yeah.
was just too nervous, I think. And thankfully, I was blessed with great genetics and I was a freak. I got just very strong. So I just blasted and knocked him out. But if I would have had a really good opponent, he would have beaten me. You know, he
Yeah.
would have known how to fight me. But it served me all the time. I won. So, okay, it worked. Then suddenly there was no more opponents. And there was no internet before. So then when I would show up, they would realize it's me and then they didn't want to fight me. Now I trade for nothing. So that happened a few times. I said, screw this. I'm going to be the next best bouncer. Let's be a bouncer.
Sure.
That's a smart idea. Right. So then I became a bouncer. And then while I was bouncing, of course, you know, the nightlife in Holland, it's a crazy life, especially the club where I was working. They close at 5 a.m.
Oh my
So
God.
then afterwards, of course, yeah, well, you go to the after parties.
Yeah.
Everything bad happens at the after parties.
Yeah.
That is very healthy life. And then on Christmas, some year, I got a phone call. No, I met a guy at the place there, and apparently he asked me to fight this guy who was in prison training for when he would come out of prison. He was a very good guy. Was Frank Lotman, the nickname The Animal, was like 41-0 with like 39 knockouts. And apparently I said yes to that fight, but I don't remember this. So in February, I have a phone call. They asked me where to send the posters to. And I go, posters? They said, who's posters from the fight? I said, who's fighting you? I said, who am I fighting? He goes, Frank Lotman. I go, The Animal. And he goes, yeah. I go, when did I say that? He goes, you don't remember? I was there at the club. I go, oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, I'll fight him. When is the fight? In 2.5 weeks. Yeah, like, so I've been for 2.5 years partying.
Yeah.
And now I have 2.5 weeks to prepare for a guy who's 41-0, who's
Wow.
with like 39 knockouts.
And this is the no holds barred fight then?
No, that was just Thai boxing.
Oh, Thai boxing. Okay, Thai boxing.
Thai boxing. And then, so needless to say, I lost that fight.
Yeah.
And then I got spit out by the Dutch audience. That was weird. I think it was around 90. So I vowed never to fight in Holland again. Then I met my wife in 92, and she had this weird look in her eye one day, and I go, what's going on? And she goes, you're going to be a famous fighter in Japan. And I go, no, honey, I told you I'm not going to fight anymore. She said, yeah, you said that, but you said Holland. You never said Japan. Whatever, right? This is a weird thing. And then a year later, I get a phone call from this guy, Chris Dolman, who's the godfather of MMA in Holland. And I never pick up the phone, and my answering machine was broke, and somehow the phone goes, and I'm walking to the room, and I remember grabbing the phone, and I'm looking at my wife, I go like, why am I picking this up? It's really weird. And it's Chris Dolman. And he says, jump in the car right now. There is this new organization that starts in Japan. It's called Pancrase. The two guys, the main guys are here to scout, look for fighters. So come over to my gym, you know, and then show what you got, and maybe you're going to have a job. You're going to be fighting in Japan. So I went over to Amsterdam. I got into a brawl with one of his students, was a world champion, and he felt the need to go really hard while they were filming. So I told him to slow down. That was not necessary. They just want to see us kick and punch, but then he turned it up. So I go, hey, I'm okay with it, but it's not going to be one-way traffic, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it too. So that was a fight. And I immediately knocked him out. I gave him a really good high kick. He went down, needed a bunch of stitches. And I saw the two guys pointing at me. They said, we want him. And that was it. And then September 21st, 1993. It's my first time on a plane. I mean, a 10.5 or 11-hour flight to Japan. Never been outside the country. It's Spain and these countries in Europe because you drive with the car, you know?
Yeah.
By car. Craziest experience ever. And then, so this, you have to understand, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I don't even know the real rules, what's going on. Right? I don't even know weight classes. And I'm going, hey, there's no weigh-ins. This is so weird. Why is there no weigh-ins? Well, I'm fighting a Japanese guy, so it's probably because they're known to be very honest.
Yeah.
So it'll be okay. And then I thought, did we talk about weight? So now it's the day of the fight, and this tall guy walks in, and I think he's the promoter. So I
Yeah.
shake his hand, and I say, "Oh, you're the promoter." He goes, "No, I'm fighting you tonight." But he's thinking like 6'3". And I go, "What's your weight?" And he was like 33 pounds heavier than I was. And I go, "Okay." And then the promoter walked up. I go, "Oh, you're the promoter, yeah." I go, "Is he? Is he not too heavy?" And he goes, "No, there's no weight classes. Everybody fights everybody." I go, "Oh, great, great." Of course, I was bluffing, tried to force a smile. And then and when he walked away, I said, "How many rounds are we fighting?" And he goes, "1." I go, "Great." How many minutes? He goes, 30.
You're learning
now
all this
basically-
on the spot. On the spot, you're learning all this. I love that.
33 pounds heavier fighting against the guy for half an hour. Okay, good luck. I go, "Okay, here we go." And it went crazy. And that was the time, because you have to understand, when you fight in Japan, there's nobody speaks.
That's what I've heard. It's quiet. It's dead
like
silent.
I can speak to you like this. When you're fighting, I can sit in the 30th row, speaking like I speak now, and you can hear every single word I'm saying.
That's crazy.
Complete silence.
Yeah.
Only when you knock somebody out, they go crazy, and they go quiet again. Very respectful people.
Yeah.
And that was it. I fought. I was so in control. It's during the fight I'm literally asking myself, what the heck is going on? I'm so in control. I heard everything. There was an Australian couple was talking about a house that they were going to move to a different place. I could hear everything while I was fighting. I go, I've never been in that. I was completely relaxed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what happened was, I think the audience being quiet helped me a lot. The 30 minutes fight, the 33 pounds overweight. So I put these big R's on my hand with a marker for rustic, relax. Coincidentally, it starts with an R, relax. Rustic is Dutch, same word. And my corner, well, I never had a coach. I always trained myself. So I had my manager was in the corner. And the only instruction they had was, if I get hit, just tell me to stay calm. Because I'm a hothead, but I can't lose my control now. Because if I lose my control the first 1.5 minutes, I can't put him away.
Yeah.
Got 28.5 more minutes to go.
Yeah.
So, but it went crazy. It was scary. I put him in a 2-day coma.
Oof.
So it was scary, because I didn't want to fight anymore after that. Because if he was not going to come out, I go, yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah.
This guy was a nice guy, you know.
Yeah.
So he came out. He was taller. I gave him a high kick, and because he was taller, I pop striked him on his jaw. He went down, and there in Japan, there's 8 counts. So he had an 8 count, got back up, and I go, okay, well, I guess I got to go harder. So I kick him full to the body, which brings his hands down. I hit him again in the head, and while he went down, I kneed him in the head.
Oof.
And then, that got scary. You know, he was completely out.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
somebody's there for 3 minutes on the ground for 3 minutes,
That's
like
scary.
zero movement, you start to get worried. And he got up and took 2 steps, crash again, another 5 minutes, same thing again. Then the ambulance came.
Wow.
So, but thankfully he came out, he actually became a good friend of mine. He actually lived with my mom and dad for 6 weeks because he had a fight in Europe. And my mom treated him like she would treat me when I was young. So that was nice. And that was it. I walked over the street the next day after the fight, and 1 in 15 people started bowing to me. And I go, that's weird, right? I had no clue what was going on. And then I passed the newspaper stand, and there was a picture on the cover of the Tokyo Post, whatever it was, with me in the splits hanging in the air, which I don't remember doing. I remember everything about the fight, but I don't remember jumping up in my victory jump.
Yep.
And with my opponent knocked out below me, and I go, oh, okay, so this is how the people are recognizing me on the street here.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is so wild, And then it just started. It's just my second fight I won, the third one I lost by submission because I was a punch and kicker. I didn't know I have the ground game, the judo, the jiu-jitsu, the sambo, all that stuff I didn't have down. Fought a few more fights, won, lost submission. And then I lost the third time by submission. And that got me very angry. Now I needed to find somebody I could train the ground with because I didn't have anybody. The first year I trained on a bag. I did 2 times a day, 12 rounds on a bag. I had no sparring partners. That's how I fought in Japan. It was the craziest thing ever. All these guys had sparring partners. I didn't.
Yeah.
So I was just doing all my own stuff. And then I found one guy, and then we started just watching fights and submissions and instructionals. And then I realized, dude, this is because I didn't like the game. But once I found out what it was,
Yeah.
I loved it way more than striking. I mean, the possibilities are endless. The setups, the combinations, the counters, it was the most insane thing, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And then I started doing it 2-3 times a day, all day long.
Were,
So,
were,
and I
were,
have it. So I
were you
never lost
still
a
in
fight.
Japan, or had you moved by
No,
this
I
time?
was still in Holland at that
Holland.
moment.
Okay.
I fought like 8-9 fights a year in Japan. We fought a lot. But it was it. I never lost a fight again. Actually, after my last loss by submission, I won my next 8 fights by submission.
Oh
They
my
were like,
gosh.
what the heck is going on? Because it just clicked.
Yeah.
And once it clicked, like I said, I didn't lose my last 22 fights. So all because I make a conscious decision to work on my weaknesses.
Yep.
And I did. And then I never lost a fight again. So I always tell people, I say, I'm not highly talented. I got good talent, but I need to work hard.
Yeah.
And I'm a hard worker. That's what I do. I always try to put more work in than my opponent does. That's how I always program myself. So anybody can do it. It's just doing it. But that's it.
I should know this. I should know this. But did you go from Pancrase to Pride and then Pride to the UFC? I can't recall.
Yeah, I went from Pancrase to the UFC because my last fight, UFC matchmaker came to Japan to watch me fight. Told me, he said, hey, we want you in the UFC. I said, let me fight 3 more fights here on the contract. That's like a couple of months. It goes fast. And then in '97, I moved to America.
Okay, that's when you moved.
Went to fought 2 more fights in Pancrase from America, and then went to the UFC.
Gotcha.
But at the UFC, once I became the champion, I stopped because I had so many injuries. And then in 2000 or in 1999, I started going to Pride Fighting Championships as a coach, as Mark first coach. And Pedro Hizo and Marco Huas, these guys were fighting in Japan. They were my training partners. And then I became the commentator for the Pride Fighting Championships. Actually, Mark Kerr, we just shot a movie with The Rock last year.
That's right.
Where I play myself, and The Rock is playing Mark Kerr, my student. And Emily Blunt is playing his wife. It's going to be it's a really badass movie we shot. It's his first drama for The Rock. So I think, and I was blown away. I mean, because I know my student, and he was exactly like him. It was amazing.
The Smashing Machine, is that what this one's?
Smashing Machine.
Yeah. I saw some just social media footage of him training, and he was really humbled in the training, but I heard that he picked it up pretty quickly. Yeah.
He picked it up quickly. He's listening. That's the thing. He was just, during every fight session, what we needed to do, he was just looking at me. Just tell me what to do. I go, okay, here we go. So great. A very eerie to see him speak like Mark Kerr at the stand. The way he was standing, he had a whole weird. The way he was standing was always different, and he mimicked everything. It was really wild when I saw that.
This segment is sponsored by Rockbox Fitness Franchising. Take control of your destiny and join the boutique fitness revolution with Rockbox Fitness. If you're ready to make a real impact in your community and own your own business that empowers people to achieve their best life, then Rockbox is the opportunity you've been looking for. They provide comprehensive support from site selection, upfit, training, and turnkey marketing, so you can open your studio with confidence and a strong recurring revenue member base. Visit rockboxfitness.com and click on franchise opportunities to learn more about this exciting venture in the fast-growing boutique fitness industry. It's time to turn your passion for fitness and for business into a thriving venture. If we can rewind back, Bas, to when you started to commentate. So what I love about your story is you were a fighter. Then you became a commentator. That's a whole different skill set and a different vocation. Then you really got into acting, and you've had some really good roles. That's a whole different skill set. So how are you? Let's talk about commentating. That is a lot harder than it looks. It sounds like you're just calling out things with a fight, but tell me about preparing for commentating and what goes into that.
Well, it's a lot. And the way I got the job was this. I was training Mark Kerr. He was the main event. I was sitting in the back, and while you're warming up, the TV is playing with the fights that are going on in the arena at that moment. And there were some high-level people from the Pride Fighting Championships who were also in the dressing room with us. And that's how it started. I'm just looking at TV while I'm busy. I say, oh, he's going to armbar him. And I just kept going with Kerr. And they go like, no, he doesn't. I said, give it 10 seconds. And then 10 seconds later, he put him in an armbar. And he goes, how did you know that? He go, well, you can see the setup. He was setting him up. And then the next fight, there was Sakuraba, I believe. He rolled into a knee bar. I go, oh, Shin's going to watch out. He's going to roll him into a knee bar. And he goes, no, but He's not doing it. I go again. I go give it 10 seconds, and then they got him in a knee bar. And he goes, "This is crazy. Did you ever think about commentating?" No. Do you want to commentate? In 2000, we have the tournament going on. It's the big tournament, 8-man
Yeah.
tournament, and we need a commentator. Sure. So I come to the commentator. This you can see how a knucklehead I am. I never looked at commentators. I thought you just heard them. I never
Sure.
paid attention to any of that. So I didn't know to bring a suit. So I'm standing there at the bus with all the fighters coming in. We're going to the arena, and I'm standing there in my shorts, in my Hawaiian shirt, and my flip flops. And they say, "Oh, you put the suit on the board already." I go, "What suit?" And they started laughing. They thought I joked. I go, "No, nobody told me." I don't know. So now the director, thankfully, Michael Braverman, he was also a guy who did movies and shorts and all that kind of stuff. He says, "Don't worry about it. We'll come up with a funny intro. We're going to sit you here with like 6 geishas. They're going to feed you grapes. We're going to start with the guy, with your commentating partner in the arena, and he's going to send it to you backstage. And you're telling more stories. I'm sitting there, I got the grapes, and I go, yeah, 12 guys tried to attack me. I just beat the crap out. Oh, hey, how are you guys doing? Stephen, thank you very much. And then I would take it over from Stephen. I would talk about some fights, send it back to Stephen, and then he would bring it home.
Yeah.
And that became everybody was like, God, it was the best opening ever. So now we had to start doing it every single show.
Yeah.
But it came out of a necessity because this dumbass forgot to bring his suit. You see, so those many times things are born like that.
Yeah.
As we were talking about it yesterday with Harrison Ford. You remember the big scene in Indiana Jones, the guy with the sword comes out, and then he just grabs his gun, he shoots him, and he walks away. Well, that was a necessity because he was very sick that day. That wasn't in the script. There was this gigantic fight scene going on, but he was so sick that for fun, when the guy started doing it, he goes, yeah, puff. And then the director, everybody started laughing. They go, do that. That's way better. And then it became the iconic scene. But you see, it's again because something bad happened.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you have to switch the script, and that's the one everybody loves.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about life. Actually, now you think about it, I was driving around. This guy picked the fighters up for the Professional Fighters League. He was a black guy in a van, and he came to pick us up. And we were talking on the road from the airport, and he's talking about that he was, I said, the hip, no. So what's this famous rap song, my name's Wonder Mike, and I like to say hello. That from that band, that was that guy. And I go, really? He says, yeah. I said, when you're doing this, he says, oh no, I got a studio, all this I do just to talk with people. I love this. I go, man, this is crazy. So he starts telling me the story. And that song, they were practicing that in the van when they drove to a studio to record another song. And while they recorded the other song, one of them went, hey, that thing that we just did in the van, maybe we should record that. And they recorded it, and it became this mega hit. You see, it's all the time. It's things like you don't expect it, but you do it. And then it happens. That's what I said to people when you want to quit. I said, don't quit. There is this thing with the universe, with God, with Jesus, whatever, you will fulfill it if you want it enough. But, some people who say, it's not going to work for me. Maybe the next day it would have been there. It's like I was talking to Henry Winkler because he was in the movie with Here Comes the Boom. And I don't remember where he lived. I believe he lived at the West Coast and he was going to the East Coast to do auditions. Could be the other way around, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So he was doing auditions, nothing worked. He's also dyslexic. So it was hard for him to get parts. And he was in the car going back to the airport, and it was over. He was no more acting. It was going to be over. And then he got a phone call, and he said, "You got to do this thing." And that was, of course, for the Fonz. And he turned around and he got the job, and then he became the biggest name in that show. You see? But if he would have said no, we would have never heard of Henry Winkler.
Yeah.
But he said, okay, the universe is speaking. Let's go back and let's see.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people should do. You should, and also people who come in your path, for instance, partners or, who are not okay with your choices. Well, now you're going to have to make a choice very fast, because I've seen some really good fighters destined to become champions got their careers kicked by their significant others because they weren't okay with it. And then they listen to that person. And then 10 years later, now they hate what they're doing, of course, what they did. because they should have tried it. And if your partner is not okay with it, finish it, wrap it up. What do you want the most? You got one life. Let's go for that one thing that you want. And then find a partner who does like it. I think it's the most important thing. I see so many people, like I said, lose their careers because of their partner. And it's a shame.
I would 100% agree that behind every great man and great woman is a great significant other that supports their goals, supports what they want to do, and gives them the leeway and the room, because there's going to be failure along the way.
Oh, a lot.
Gives them the room to fail, to grow beyond that. I mean, it's entrepreneurship 101, let alone life 101. How then you've really blossomed into this actor who is in demand, and like I know you had Here Comes the Boom with Kevin James. How did you get to know Kevin? Like, how did that role come about?
So I moved in '97 to America, to Los Angeles, and it was the first season of The King of Queens. He just won that show that he was going to get a sitcom, and he and Joe Rogan used to be roommates, and they would always watch Pancrase, my fights, and they were always mesmerized with this crazy bald Dutch guy, and it was me, so they were big fans. So as soon as when I came into the States, they found out, Kevin found out, and within 3 months I got a phone call if I could go to the Sony studios to train him there. So first I met him in his 1-bedroom apartment that he shared with his brother. That's completely different now. But he's the same person. He never changed. He's a really good guy. And then I just started, and after the first workout, I came home and I said, hey, he's me. He's just me. He's a freaking awesome guy. And we just became good friends right away. So that was in '97. And then I started doing little parts for him in the King of Queens. Then I shot a short movie called The Kingdom of Ultimate Power. You can find it online on YouTube. Because when he was shooting the movie, Here Comes the Boom, I heard about that he was doing an MMA movie, and I didn't hear anything from him. And it was the first time I asked him, because I never asked him anything before. I never go like, hey, man, can I be in the show? I never did that. I never want to be that guy. The only thing I said, I wrote him an email and I said, listen, I hear you doing an MMA movie. I hope I have a part. I don't care if it's not a non-speaking part, a manager in the back, whatever it is. I'm good with everything. And then an hour later, I got a script. And he says, you're Nico. So I go, he says, I was already thinking about you, he said. So I start reading the script, and then the first scene is in that, for the citizenship class. And I thought that was the scene. I go, oh, I got a speaking role. Oh, nice. And then suddenly I came back, and then I came back, and then I realized it was a supporting actor part.
I
go, dude, he goes, dude, I had you. You were the first guy who was cast. He said, you never have to worry.
So this is
a fun part I want to say, because one of the guys from Sony was not okay with it. Well, the group was not okay with it. But then Kevin showed that short film that I did. That was a comedy where I'm very over the top. I'm Bas Rutten with 20 cups of coffee. I play this weird Vlad Rivka, a Russian crazy guy. And we won first prize at the New York Film Festival with the thing. So then Kevin gave him the movie, and he says, watch this. So then they were all okay with it, except one. And I did the first scene. The first scene was the singing scene where I'm Highway Run, where I sing that thing.
Yeah.
And that was my first scene that I had to shoot for the movie. And I remember that guy was there. And he was very seriously looking the whole time. And then later on, when I was in my trailer, I got a knock on the door, and he came to apologize.
Wow.
He goes, dude, I had no idea. I mean, you're freaking great. A great actor. Thank you. So that was a really cool moment for me. Yeah.
That is super cool. So again, I'm gonna rewind it, because you told me how you came into commentating, and then I only imagine that you studied other commentators and really just the way you learn. How did you learn how to act? Because again, it looks easy on film, but acting is very, very different than what people think it is. So how did you learn that?
You see, everything helped me. It was the perfect order. Now I realize, oh God, it's just planned out.
Yeah.
Because if you do a live opening of a show, well, you can't mess up one thing.
Yep.
So that by itself was preparing me already for my movies.
Yeah.
Then also when I came to America, immediately within 3 months, I started taking acting classes, because I knew eventually after fighting, I would love to do that. Maybe stunts, maybe acting. I was more stunts and fight choreography. That was my mind set. But then I realized how difficult it is to do a monologue, your first monologue, in front of 30 kids that you don't know, good luck with that, dude. You're freaking sweating bullets. It's very nerve-wracking. Like in the beginning with fighting, I will be more nervous for interviews than for fighting. Fighting is easy, but the interviews make me nervous. But you do it, and then now it's easy. And it's the same with that. And that's the same what the live on camera did for me. And then I had a TV show. We did 431 shows on Access TV.
Yeah,
that was
that's
also
right.
a live show about mixed martial arts.
That's right.
So you can't mess up. You learn how to deal with making mistakes and then fixing them live, and that's a really good skill to have when you go to acting. So now if something goes wrong, at least you can still handle all the pressure. You can still do it. And I think that helped me a lot. But yeah, taking acting classes in the beginning as well. And then it's very important, the crew you hang out with, the director, if they're very pushing and, especially if it's one of your new jobs, it's very stressful. I remember my very first TV show I did. I was a bank robber. I had to wear a wig, glasses. It was a freaking nightmare. 18 Wheels of Justice was the name of the show.
That's awesome.
I memorized everything, and then action. What's my line? And then I started sweating bullets. And it was a freaking nightmare. Missed everything, messed it up. And it was a long weekend. So Friday, it wasn't a Thursday. Friday was was going to be a long weekend. It was a holiday. Everybody wanted to go home. So after like my fifth screw up, the crew goes, like, and I'm turning around. I go, you're not helping me. I'm freaking out here right now. Give me freaking some time. And then I just went so over the top with that thing. We shot, and immediately I nailed the scene. It was good. Everybody started cheering.
We can go home. We can go home.
Yeah, but that's how nervous I was. I was super nervous, and it's just something new. But then you do it over and over again. You get used to it, and here we are.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by ThriveMore Autopilot. The latest data shows a large amount of small to mid-sized business owners are living paycheck to paycheck, and that is not why you started a business in the first place. We all start businesses to create the freedom in our lives that we want and to give us options. But to do that, you need more leads, and you need to turn those prospects into long-term paying customers. Well, the solution is ThriveMore Autopilot. ThriveMore Autopilot is the turnkey solution to take the stress and the hard work out of new customer acquisition, which is the lifeblood of any small business. ThriveMore Autopilot works on your behalf to generate a waterfall of new leads through various channels, to nurture those leads with proprietary AI solutions that mimic human interaction, to sell memberships and help you increase your monthly recurring revenue, and they even provide you coaching and your team coaching on the most effective sales techniques and give you a community of other like-minded business owners. ThriveMore Autopilot is how you scale your business without stress and the relentless phone calls and texts and reach outs to the prospects to get them to show up for that first appointment or to show up to that call. So learn how ThriveMore Autopilot can help you win big by going to thrivemore.ai. That's thrivemore.ai. ThriveMore Autopilot, the strategic partner for small to mid-sized business owners to help you scale and live the life of your dreams. If you could give advice to the listeners, and help me too, if there's a piece of advice that has really helped you become a world champion, a Pancrase champion, the UFC champion, commentating on the top. I forgot about Inside MMA, 400 and some shows there, all of these movies. You've been very successful. So if you had to give a piece of advice on what helped you become so successful, what would that be?
For me, like I have ADHD, so everything needs to be habits. And I need to develop habits really fast, because if I break away from the habits, it's too much chaos in my head. So for me, be true to your word. That's my biggest one. And I mean it especially for yourself. I always tell people, once you start lying to the most important person in the world, which is you, by the way, that's a big problem, because that's where addiction starts. That's where everything starts. Like tomorrow I'm not going to drink, and then you pop one beer. It was only one beer. Yeah, but you said not.
Yeah.
And you still did. You see, and so that's how I program myself. If I say no, it's going to be no. If I say yes, it's going to be yes. If I say today I'm going to do 15 rounds on the back, it will be 15 rounds on the back. And in the past, it will go wrong. And I stop at 12 rounds, and then I know myself, because then at night at 10 o'clock I'm in bed, and suddenly I get up out of bed, I put my clothes on, go to the gym, I do my freaking 15 rounds because I didn't do them before. I'm very wired, weird, otherwise I can't sleep. I have to do what I said I was going to do. And once you do that, once you simply commit, that's it. But that's
Yeah.
a very hard thing right now in this day and age with these stupid phones.
Sure.
And with an 18-year-old right now, an average 18-year-old spends 93% of his free time on the phone. Think about that stat. 93%. So buy life, buy everything, buy goals, nothing. They have nothing. Their whole life is going to be one big trap. And what people don't realize, this thing, we're all looking for pleasure, right? And we're confusing pleasure with happiness. That's what we're doing, first of all. And we think buying a lot of stuff, gives us a lot of dopamine, and another dopamine. And that's what we're going after the whole time, the freaking rush. We need to focus on serotonin. And serotonin comes from happiness. And that's dopamine drops, and you need another boost. Serotonin doesn't do that. And you know what kills serotonin? Dopamine. So that means the more you buy pleasures that you can't use for anything, that don't do anything for you, the more unhappy you get.
Yeah.
It's 100% proven. You can look this up. But no, we keep on doing it. Like when I got back to the church 11 years ago, I realized all the things I was doing were stupid. Driving a Porsche, so big watches, everything is gone. I just gave it to my friends, everything. I said, this is it. Phone, this is the old model. When the breaks, I'm going to get my new model. Before I needed the new model.
Yeah.
I was one of those guys. Oh, likes. Well, watch how much I'm on internet. I'm not.
Yeah.
Because it's a waste of freaking time to me. So I do interviews, I do that stuff, but like making a post of myself and say, I'm thinking about what I'm going to do next. What is that picture going to do for people?
Sure. I had linguine for lunch.
Yeah, free up. But be true to yourself is the best one.
I love it.
And then if you can do it also to other people, that's it.
Someone once described self-confidence to me as making a promise to yourself and then keeping that promise. Because that every time you make that promise and keep it, that builds your self-confidence up. If I can do that, then what else can I accomplish as well? Right. And you just described that.
That's exactly it. But that's making a habit. So what you say right now, for instance, this is the thing that I say a lot. I used to say a lot. I do these talks for these 550 kids from school. They go from high school, they go to college or whatever university they do. And I'm prepared them I talk to them for an hour. The first question I have is, who woke up this morning from the alarm clock, hit the snooze button, 10 minutes later, hit the snooze button, 10 minutes, I did it like 5-6 times. And 85% of the hands go up. Everybody. And I tell them, I say, this is the dumbest habit in the world. That last hour, you didn't sleep anymore. You wake up, you sleep. You wake up, you sleep. Smart thing for you would be, put the alarm 1 hour later. And tell yourself before you go to sleep tomorrow morning, when I wake up, I sit up in bed, I walk out. Immediately when I hear the sound. And yes, that's going to be hard the first time, second, first. But after a week, it starts already becoming normal. And then 3 weeks in, you don't even need an alarm clock anymore because you're going to wake up before that time. It's just how you program yourself. And everybody can do this. And you can do it with that, the stupid alarm clock, but you can do that with everything.
Yeah.
It's just building habits. And once you build those habits and you stay with the habit, because as easy as it is for you to build a new habit, that's how easy it is to lose that habit again.
Sure.
Right? So you have to stay with it. Like when I drive through my street at 2 o'clock at night, I use my turn signals. And my wife asked me like 6 months ago, says, what? There's nobody here. Why would you use your turn signals? It's a habit. I simply don't break the habit. Why would I break the habit? Yeah. Because that can only lead to not doing the next time. And that can only lead to something bad, Yeah, it's a stupid turn signal. For me, it's important. So I do it.
I love it. Before we find out where people can follow you or connect with you, I want to ask you two questions that I always ask guests. One is there a book that, Bas, that you read, and this could be any time in your life, it could have been last week, it could have been 30 years ago, when you set it down, it had changed the way you thought of whatever the subject was? Like, was there a book that really resonated with you? So, and it can't be a religious text. That's kind of an obvious choice. So another book that, you've read that just changed the way you thought.
Yeah. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. That I read it like 5 times already now.
Yeah.
Because every time you rediscover new things.
Yeah.
And I think the way he set everything up with your personal legend, that's your personal goal in life. The way in the beginning you think it's the wrong book. It's a sheep herder. I mean, I get the wrong book. But then suddenly you realize, whoa, that was
Didn't
the
see that
way he
coming.
tells the story and gets inside your head, it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's a very smart way of doing it. And yeah, that really grabbed me, the book. That
Love it.
really changed me.
Love it. And then if we are to fast forward to the end of your life, and you've lived this amazing, rich life and continue to do so, but at some point we kind of know how this movie ends for all of us, right? So if we're at your funeral service and you're looking down from above and a loved one is reading your eulogy, but boss, they're only allowed 3 words. It doesn't have to make a cute sentence or anything, but just 3 descriptors of the impact you had on them, the impact you had on the world. What 3 words do you hope they choose to
Yeah.
describe you?
Dependable. Funny. I think it's a good one. Dependable, that encompasses that. And then just be a great man. I have this line about what kind of man I want to be. And I always say, I want to be a man who can overcome his weaknesses, his vices, and imperfections. A man who is not a slave to his passions, emotions, and desires, but just a guy who's in control of himself. Who can literally say after the second beer, no third one. I don't need that. Who's just totally in control of himself. That's the guy I'm really striving to be. And that's something that I'm really working hard on. Takes a long time. It's it's hard. It's an ongoing thing, and especially in the world right now with a lot of hate and a lot of diversity and everybody split up. It's sad how the people are doing. They're feeding their anger because it makes them feel good. It gives them freaking dopamine.
Yeah.
They say in a negative post, a negative caption will have like 76% more interaction than a nice one. And I go, like, there's something wrong with this world. We need to fix it. And unfortunately, well, I'm putting a lot of videos out now to like, stop judging, stop doing this, stop doing that.
Yeah.
The things that I attack myself, where I realize that's not a good person, and then the way I broke it, got out of it, that's what I'm doing. And I say, if it works for my crazy mind, I'm pretty freaking sure it's gonna work for yours, because mine is hard to tame.
I
That's
love
one
it.
thing for sure.
Well, you've I've thoroughly enjoyed this time. Like you are so what I love, because I have followed you for 30 years. I've just followed, I've watched your fights. I used to love Inside MMA. And what I just experienced for this 45 minutes now is the same exact guy that I've seen in all those other venues, which really speaks to your character. You are who you are, and that's refreshing these days.
Yeah, that's a thing. That I think comes from the bullying, comes from everything. You just, why would you be different, right? It's
Yeah.
so hard. I interview guys, you see them in the green room, they're completely different. Then they go on air and that's suddenly F-bombs and this. And I go, just do be yourself, dude.
Yeah, be yourself.
It's just
Be yourself.
so flat. It's so much energy,
Yeah. Well, where can people follow you, connect with you, just be part of your journey as you're putting this great stuff out into the world and this positivity? How can they follow you, be part of that?
So there's the 2 big focuses I have right now in my life. One focus is Karate Combat, which is a full contact karate league. It's taking the world by storm. After the UFC, we have the highest numbers already in viewership. We had one event, 70 million. I mean, it's in a pit. It's karate.com. It's for free. You can watch it May 2nd. I'm in Dubai together with George and Pierre and all these guys who were doing the show. You guys are going to love the show. It's striking with takedowns and ground and pound. No submissions. And it's in a pit. And then the CGI, the whole background looks like we're in a different place. It's really something. Go to karate.com and find that out. And then the other one that I have is the O2 trainer. The O2 trainer is it's an inspiratory muscle trainer. That's actually a thing that, again, you see, we were talking about things that went wrong when you were young, and then suddenly it becomes something like the opening of the show from Pride Fighting Championship. Well, we were talking about it. With me, what happened was, if I had asthma, I was doing track and field at a high level already when I was young, because my parents, my dad, and his whole family, they're all great athletes. So we always used to do track and field. And I was going to be hardcore. I was going to do the decathlon, long jump, far jump, javelin, shot put. Everything was good. Discus, run, sprints. Running was bad though because of my asthma.
Yeah.
But after an asthma attack for a week in bed, and I would resume my track and field, suddenly I would always break my running times. And it drove me insane. Why is this? Why is this? Why is this? The medication, I didn't know what it was. And at 14, I found out at the doctor's office when I saw a drawing of a pair of lungs on the wall. I go, oh, this is what's going on. So I saw a pair of lungs, and I saw a healthy airway, and I saw an infected airway. And I go, oh my God, I've been working out my lungs with resistance for a week straight, 24/7. So then when it's gone, now it's much stronger. My lungs are much stronger. I thought my lungs did the work at the time. So why don't I come up with something that controls the air intake so I can regulate it myself? So I start experimenting with like washers, like for bolts and nuts put in front of my teeth and try to breathe in only through that little tiny hole. Super dangerous. Don't do that
I was
because
going to say,
you
that
look
doesn't
pretty bad.
sound safe, but yeah.
Yeah, very dangerous. But I always was in my head. And then I start finally after my career, I start making it because everybody at parties, I would talk about it, the idea, the Ruttenizer, that was the name. And my friends say, dude, you got to make that thing. That's a smart idea. That's a smart idea. And then finally I started making it. I started training with it. I still was using an inhaler, always carried an inhaler with me everywhere I went in the world, had to, because if I sneeze violently, my lungs close, I have to open them up, with an inhaler. 3.5 weeks with my prototype, my asthma was gone. Whoa, this is weird. I said it to my friend in Holland who has asthma, and I didn't tell him anything. I said, start using this thing. Why? For what? I said, just start using it. I want to see how you feel. But do it every day. It's just 4 minutes a day. And he calls me 8 days later and he says, dude, my asthma is gone. And I knew that he has asthma. I said, dude, we're onto something. So now I started getting into it. It was very hard to put it on the market. Then I went to a breathing doctor, an expert, Dr. Belisa Frederick. She's world-renowned breathing expert. She was measuring my chest expansion. Now it starts for the people at home. What happens? Like your lungs don't have muscle. Lung is zero muscle. Your lungs can't do anything by themselves. They can't breathe. Nothing. The way you breathe is by your chest expansion. And once you expand your chest, that will create a vacuum between your body and your lungs. And that vacuum, that opens up your lungs. So there's a weird line. I'm always saying this line, people freak out. So your chest doesn't expand because you put air in it. Your chest expands, and that is how you pull the air in. That's like, okay, this is weird. Okay, so how's that chest expansion done? It's by your diaphragm and by your intercostals, which are the muscles in between your ribs. Now the diaphragm, look what I got here. It's a small dome-shaped muscle tendon, just like this. It's only 4 millimeters thick. It's not that thick, super strong. And what it does in the body, it drops down. And from that angle, it doesn't do anything. From this angle, it expands in the body. So this bottom part is attached to the bottom part of your rib cage, 360 circumferential around your body. And that drops, chest expands, pull the air into the lungs. Boom. Okay, good. Now let's talk about how does your endurance increases? Right? Well, you train really hard, boss. Yeah, but what happens? Why is it happening? There's got to be a reason for. Well, I found the reason. If you work out a muscle over and over again, it becomes more efficient at its job.
Yep.
And the word efficient already says it uses less oxygen, therefore stamina increases. Okay, good. What happens if you start gassing? Well, when you start gassing, like you're hitting a bag, like I do constantly right kicks. So I get hit in the face. It's like all the blood gets taken out, which actually is exactly what happens. Because your body starts redirecting your oxygenated blood and it will take it away from your legs. Why would it do that? Because I'm using them right now. Yeah, but it's sensitive to the number one priority in your body, your breathing muscles. 3 minutes without them, you're dead. So they send that blood to your breathing muscles. And by the way, you have 11 pounds of breathing muscles. That's the diaphragm and the intercostals, right? Okay, but wait a minute. You just said that if you work out a muscle over and over again, it becomes more efficient. So what if I work those 11 pounds out with a little thing, which is what the O2 trainer is, and then I give those more endurance so they don't have to steal blood anymore, which, by the way, is a medical term, blood stealing from those limbs, and you can go right away. And that's why I always tell people, that's why every single endurance and stamina athlete in the Olympics is using inspirator muscle trainer.
Yeah.
And it's a very simple device. It's 4 minutes a day. The things it does, it's just very simple.
Yeah.
Comes with little sizes from 1 millimeter, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it goes all the way up.
Yeah.
And I'm at 2 right now. I can't do 1, but I really have to struggle.
Yeah.
Life-changing.
Wow.
It's life-changing. If you know that 95% of the people are breathing wrong, yes, that was me included, even at my fights, because if I tell you to take a deep breath, what do? Take a deep breath right now. For you, it's not that super bad. Normally, they do this.
Yeah.
And that is completely wrong. This is a deep breath. You shouldn't see anything here. 4 to 6 of these breaths is the same as 1 diaphragmatic breath.
Yeah.
Think about that. Take number 4. That's 25%. Every time you breathe, 25% pull in. You can do it one time, 100% with 1 breath. That's a gigantic difference. And now you give those muscles more oxygen and more stamina. Now everything starts going up.
And where can people find the Auto
It's
Trainer?
called Auto Trainer. You can find it on autotrainer.com, and then on Amazon we have it too. And even on our website we have the Buy with Prime button also, so you can go to autotrainer.com. You can still have it the next day if you want.
Okay. We'll put that link in the show notes as well for people just to click right on it.
Because it's life changing for people. What it did to me, it's amazing. And what it does, cystic fibrosis, COPD, of course, asthma, back problems. I mean, balance. It's the most insane thing. There is on the website, there's a little tab, science. Click that, and it will bring you to a published medical journal website. It has over 2,000 published medical journals about inspiratory muscle training, which is what this thing is. So it's not a gimmick. It's like everybody's using it. There's over 2,000 professional published medical journals to back up what I said that it does.
And much safer than breathing through a washer or a bolt.
Oh, for sure. No, and so people told me, I can do this with a straw. I go, listen, if you can't buy the Auto Trainer, this is what I tell people. Make a fist, just do it on your fist. Breathe completely out, put your mouth against the fist, and inhale. And while you're inhaling, just focus on here. So in the beginning, with the fist is going to be hard because you cannot grab the bottom of your chair because everybody raises their shoulders. You need to get rid of that first. And once you get rid of that, so if you work this thing for 6 weeks, you transformed your whole breathing. Now you're breathing automatically the correct way. Now you're giving more endurance. Don't expect a gigantic difference in a week. Oh, these people, man, they drive me insane. I go, so you go to the gym and in 1 week you can change your body. Come on. You know, and if I say 95% doesn't breathe correctly, Google that. Don't believe me, Google it. And see all the tests for yourself, because we all breathe like this. And you know why we breathe like this? This is the dumbest thing ever. We're the only mammal in the world who does it. Look at a baby. It's perfect. The belly breathes like this. And we start doing this because 5.5 years of age, that's why we go to school. That's why we're sitting down. That's why we start getting belts. That's why we go to the doctor who puts a stethoscope here. Let's listen to your lungs. Your lungs are not here. Your lungs are freaking here, you know? And all these little things, and especially the opposite sex. Hey, that girl maybe likes me, but if I breathe through my belly, she might think I'm fat. Literally, all these things combined take that perfect breath away from us, and we start breathing like idiots, you know? And I was that. I have video of me fighting a world title in the corner. I'm like, I'm literally breathing like that. That with me right now, dude, I come out of a super hard round. I'm like this. Blows me away every single time. The difference is gigantic. So
I love it. I love it. Bas, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
You're very welcome, my friend. Roger that.
Thank you for tuning in to the ThriveMore podcast. Don't forget to take a look at the show notes for any of the resources that we mentioned during the podcast. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you have access to the latest and the greatest. You can connect with me on any of the socials at Real Roger Martin. And be sure to check out our website, ThriveMoreBrands.com. There you'll find information on the brands we support and information on franchising. Thanks again for tuning in.